Hello, this is Victoria Vives with Earth Sky People Radio and Earth Sky People TV. And we have a special show today. When I think of our guest today, the first thing that comes to mind is words such as celestial, angelic, and I feel peace all over my body. So I would like to present to you Ashana. Welcome, Ashana.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
Your music is just so special, so inspirational. I remember the first time I heard your music was with my shamanic mentor, and she just gave me a session, and suddenly at the end of the session she played your music, and I felt in heaven. It was, oh my goodness. Since then, I've been really using your music as well for my sessions.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I would love to know how your spiritual journey became other than music, because of course the musical aspect is very spiritual in itself. But how did you start in your spiritual journey?
Oh my goodness. I can't really put my finger on it as a certain time or place, because when I look back in retrospect through deep introspection, I can see now that my entire life has been a spiritual journey. I believe that that's true for all of us. You know, when we learn, and as we learn and as we grow and we begin to pay attention and witness and look on deeper levels, and even for people that might not even do that themselves, I believe that when they cross over, make the transition, get to the other side, there'll be a celebration of the spiritual journey that they just took. So we're all on a spiritual journey, whether we're conscious of it or not. So perhaps maybe the question that you want to ask me is, when did I really become conscious that I was on a spiritual journey?
That's a good question. Or whether there was maybe a catalytic event or something that took you into this path.
Yes, there was a catalyst that brought me into a deeper awareness at the time. And that was back around the time of the harmonic convergence, really. So what was it, 1989 or 19? I can't remember the year that took place in the 80s. But right around that time, I divorced from my first husband, and the marriage and the divorce was really a spiral for me, in a very deep spiral. It took me into looking at places inside of myself that I really didn't want to see. And so I think that I can honestly say that was the catalyst. And so as a result of that, I was in so much pain on so many levels, deep suffering, that I had to do something about it. And it took many years. I feel like now, today, where I am and where I've come in the last 30 years or whatever, I feel like my life now is just beginning. Every year now is just a year that's more full and more rich, with more awareness and more insights. And interestingly enough, now that I think about it and the way that you've asked this question, the second huge leap, not the second, I mean, there have been many leaps in awareness and in consciousness along the way, but a very significant place was the marriage to my second husband, which happened in 2011. And it coincided with a very important cycle. It was actually the year of a big shift in a cycle in my life and my development. But marrying him was probably truly the happiest day of my life. And every day since then has just been one of greater and deeper love. So his presence in my life has been a tremendous teaching, a tremendous gift. So I feel so blessed, and it hasn't been easy by a long shot. I don't think it's easy for any of us. So does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you mentioned the harmonic convergence, and actually, it sounds very familiar, but I'm not sure what that is. Would you share with us?
Well, you know what? Honest to goodness, I can't actually remember exactly what it is either. Just, what I do remember is that it was a time in the late 80s of a very particular frequency of light that came to activate the energies on the earth, and so it became known globally as the harmonic convergence. And
Wow.
I remember spending that day. I had been divorced for about a year, and I remember spending that day up in the mountains with a friend of mine at sunrise. Or sunrise or sunset. Anyway, we were on the mountain. We were looking at this, so it must have been sunset, and just praying and holding space for whatever it was, that place of new frequencies, new awakening, new light, a birth and rebirth of light on the earth. And so it was really synchronistic. I don't think there are any accidents that all of those shifts in my personal life happened right around that time.
How awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And your music is not the typical commercial music, which I really appreciate because it has that depth of spiritual intention and healing. Did you have a time in your past where you were more focused on more commercial music, or you were always focused in the healing aspect of music?
No, I had many passionate musical loves in my life, and healing music really came in for me very gradually. It was as I began evolving as a human, and the more I just became more in touch with myself, aware with myself, conscious, awake, then my music began to reflect that at deeper and deeper levels. But I started sing. I sang everything. I sang. My God, and I learned so much from every single thing I sang. So I don't have a place in my life really where there's any, pretty much the only thing I didn't ever sing was hardcore rap music. But I pretty much sang. I sang jazz, and I sang um, um, pop, and I sang dance music. I sang opera and classical and art song and lieder and Baroque music and classical music and medieval music and Renaissance music. And I wrote my music and children's music.
Wow.
I mean, and I composed many different ways. I did a lot of work in theater and Broadway and um, musical comedy and operetta. I mean, really, I just went like this. Folk music. I wrote songs and played guitar. I mean, it's like you pretty much
Oh,
I did it.
amazing.
So, and I pretty much started from the time I was about 5 years old. So it's always been a part of my life. But the healing music piece really came in more on a deep level starting in around 1999 when my first crystal singing bowls came in. And it's a beautiful story, actually, that I love to tell about the crystal bowls coming into my life because a friend of mine, I got a call one day, I guess it was back in 1999, from a friend of mine. She was a spiritual teacher that I was studying with. And she said, have you ever heard of crystal singing bowls? And I said, no. And she goes, well, this is right up your alley, Ashana. And I, okay. And I trusted her completely. So I ordered one, sight unseen. I didn't even know what I was getting into. And it came about 3 weeks later. And it came in this big box, because I'll show you what it looked like. The very first one that I had, and this is not that one, but this is one that's similar. I don't know if you can see these ones here.
Wow.
So it was a little smaller than that, because it was 14 inches, and these are 18 inches, so they're bigger. But anyway, so it came in a big double box on my kitchen table, and I brought the box and I set it on the table, and I opened up the first box, and then there was a second one. You know, it was like those Russian dolls. You just kept covered with. So I took all the peanuts out there and put them away, and I took out the second box, and the bowl was heavy. So then I pulled out this bowl, which must have weighed about 15, 20 pounds, maybe not 20, but about 15 pounds, and I set it on the table. I knew just what to do. It had a mallet like this one, right? And I took the mallet and I went just like that on the side of the bowl. The minute I heard the sound, the second I heard the sound, my eyes just like bubbled up with tears, and my face started streaming with tears. I was so overcome. I was overwhelmed with the sound, and I think about it, I still get choked up. And I thought that it was the most beautiful sound that I had ever heard. And the very first thought that I had was that light had come to live in my house. And the second thought that I had was that I'm going to put this. It was just like that.
Sorry, that last part didn't come through for some reason. Would you repeat it?
Sure. The very second thought that I had was that I was going to put it into music one day, that sound. So,
Okay.
and it took 6 years before that really happened. And actually, that very first piece that we recorded with the bowls was Ave Maria.
Oh.
Yeah, it was quite beautiful. Yeah, it was quite beautiful.
How do you feel that this transformation changed your experience with music? In my case, I'm also coming from entertainment, so I was focused on entertainment only for a long time, but then I started teaching healing, so my personal connection with music changed completely, and I would like to know how you experienced that transformation. How did it enrich your experience of music?
Well, you know, I'd have to, again, I would have to say that the changes have been very, very, very gradual. And see, because I believe that all music is healing. All music, one of my teachers, and in fact, the same woman who introduced me to the crystal bowls, she said, she asked me one day, what is the commonality in all music? And I've had to realize, it took me a long time to actually contemplate and think about that answer, and that it's a universal language. It crosses all barriers. It's the language of the emotions of the heart. And so it can touch and reach people no matter who they are, no matter where they are. For me, healing music happened. I love to tell this story. I mean, this is one of the most beautiful stories and most beautiful examples of healing music that I've experienced in my life, and it left an indelible imprint on my heart. I was teaching back to from about 1996 to 2005. I taught music to young children in a program called Music Together. And and I was in class, and it was a class full of 12 families and their young children, all under age 6. And we had a lullaby at the end of class. Like the whole class was singing and dancing and playing and doing all kinds of wonderful, fun things. And at the end of the class, there was a lullaby. And there was one little toddler. She must have been, somewhere around 3 years old. And all the parents in the room were sitting quietly and singing to their children. And they were singing, we were all singing, and I had my guitar, and we were singing This Little Light of Mine. You know that song? This little light
Yes.
of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, right? But we were singing it like a lullaby. And it was really, really quiet. But this little toddler, she couldn't lie down. She just had too much energy. So she was next to her mama, and she was just kind of dancing, a little swaying and dancing. And then it came time for the end. And just as it was ending, I brought the lights in the room way up. And of course, you know, the words were This Little Light of Mine, and we had been singing it over and over. And when the light went on, she went like this. Oh! Like it was a miracle.
Oh.
And every parent in the room and myself, we were all like sobbing in that moment. Everybody was just, their eyes were just like filled with tears. When I think about it, it was one of the most beautiful, innocent, precious vibrations of wonder and gratitude that I've ever experienced in myself. And that came in this moment of innocent, childlike music. And you see how the moment of a child's perception through sound and singing in the comfort of family brought about this place where every adult in the room remembered the innocence and purity of the heart and the wonder of life. And that happened. So that was such a healing. That was a healing of music.
It is. I every time that I sing or chant in a group, I feel so much healing, and how all of our voices come together. That is just something very, very special that I don't think we fully understand yet.
Well, there's magic in that, and when I say magic, it's the great remembrance, really, of our unity. When people come together in sound, and the resonance of that sound actually affects everyone on the physical level, and our blood cells, our every cell in our body, literally, because our bodies are fluid, they move and become in resonance. And so the whole process of singing together, you know, whether it's marshalling, or you know, where people are marching, or whether people are chanting, brings a sense of unity and oneness. Now, the music itself will determine the focus of that oneness. You know, you an army chanting in order to create that oneness and that synergy in their consciousness to create strength, a feeling of strength and readiness for battle and steel, backbone, focus. Or you have a mantra and kirtan, or which would evoke a totally different experience of, you know, perhaps it would be of unconditional love, or the consciousness of the divine, of divinity, of the all that is. It really depends on what you're singing. You know, in that case with that little girl, what were we singing? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. That's as holy as any mantra I know.
Beautiful. You know, if you could introduce to us your friends, the singing bowls, I think we would be very happy to meet them.
Well, you know, uh, I have to blow, I might have to blow my nose for a moment. I got,
Okay, okay, no worries. We're with family here. We are one big family, so no problem.
I should always remember because when I tell stories and they touch my heart, I always get emotional. So,
Oh.
but these are only like four of my bowls. I actually have about 75 altogether. You know,
Oh
and
wow!
they just keep coming in. But I brought them. We were going to be upstairs, so in my ballroom, and I would have shown you everybody, but we didn't have the reception, so we couldn't do it there. So we're in my living room right now, and I just brought down four of them. Let's see if I can show them to you. Let's see if I can get them so you see them.
Oh.
Can you see them?
For
Does
a
that work?
second, as I saw them, but now it seems that your signal went off. Your video is not on.
Oh, it wants to. There. Is that better?
Let's see. Right now, I see now. Now I see you.
Okay, so yeah, we were putting the iPad on a couple of our drum friends here, but this is these are a few of my bowls. This one is platinum. This one is called Ocean Gold. This is rose quartz here, and there is Mount Shasta serpentine.
Wow.
Let me put you back here.
Beautiful.
Now, something is happening. There we go. So I can play them a little bit. Here.
Oh yes, thank you.
The microphone is not very good, so we'll just do our best.
Sure.
Tell me if you can hear them.
Yes, I can. Beautiful. Beautiful. So peaceful. I get chills. I got chills.
Yeah, they're just amazing beings. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that they are almost the embodiment of angels, or that they help bring in the angelic realm?
Well, my experience of the bowls is that they are living consciousness, and so whenever a bowl connects with its person, the person that it's going to be working with and playing with, there is an entering of the consciousness into that bowl, pretty much like up until that time. Up until the time the bowl is really regularly played, it's almost like the consciousness is dormant. So I've seen this on many occasions, literally have felt the consciousness step into the bowl, and or at least awaken. And those the beings of light that come into embodiment in the bowls, they of course work with the Davic realms, and I'm sure when you invoke the presence of the angelics, well, when I know that when you invoke the presence of the angelics, they always come in. You know, they love this sound, and as soon as you start to play, they just kind of go, oh, like this. You know, they get very shiny and happy. So.
You think it has to do with the very high pitch frequency, perhaps?
Yes, from what people tell me, people who have very highly developed clairaudience and can talk to the realms on the other side, that this is the sound of those frequencies. So when it's brought in with just intention and love and receptivity, then the angelics, they just kind of come right in. It makes it a lot easier for them to connect with us on the personality level, because the bowls actually support us in shifting our frequency to a higher, more refined level, more that level of light and the etheric that realm it lives in.
Wow. And I saw you have some drums there as well, and I was wondering, what is your experience with drums, or perhaps when you listen to a didgeridoo or other sounds that are more grounding, how you feel about those? Because those are still healing, but it's such a different frequency.
I love them. I love them. The house is filled with drums, and I love playing bowls and percussion. I love awesome. In my concerts, I do it all the time. Oh yeah, all the time. In my concerts, I have a wonderful percussionist that I work with, and well, actually several that I work with. And didgeridoo, I just started playing bowls with didgeridoo, and it's a beautiful combination. And I was gifted a didgeridoo for Christmas this year.
Oh.
And it's I haven't unfortunately had the time to really sit and learn how to play it, but when I fooled around with it and just noodling around playing sounds, oh my God, it made my body feel so good, because it really helped me. I'm so etheric. I hang out in the ether so much that to be brought in that kind of really deeply grounded body way is good. My husband, all those drums over there, for the most part, they're all my husband's. He is a native Hawaiian healer, and he loves percussion. It's just his joy. He's not a professional by any means, but he just loves playing, and so he sits and it's so funny. The other day he was doing some work on the computer, and then he would take these 5-minute drum breaks like every hour, and he had his djembe sitting next to him, so he would be like working on the computer, and then all of a sudden through the house you hear boom, 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 boom.
Awesome. How beautiful that you both are doing music. Do you also practice healing, like any energy healing, like Reiki or any other style?
Oh, do I or does he? What's your question?
You.
Oh, yes, I studied Asui Reiki with one of my dear beloved Kundalini yoga teachers, Sangeet Karkalsa, and then I learned a modality of healing called divine intervention, which is very deep healing that comes from through one of my teachers, Brooke Still and Star Fuentes, and this is from an unbroken Mayan lineage for like 24 generations of Mayan teaching. So this is both of those, as you know, well, the Reiki is is energy healing, and then divine intervention is actually hands-on the body healing. And when I work with the bowls privately and one-on-one with people, I oftentimes use these additional while I'm playing. And of course, when I'm recording or I'm singing, all of that transmission is always coming through the playing as well. You know, it just comes through the sound frequencies because my hands are on the bowls. It's fun.
Yeah, and you give sessions. Where do you give sessions? Do you travel giving sessions or only in one location?
Yeah, no, well, sometimes people will come to study with me at home, and we live in Phoenix, Arizona, which is near Sedona, and so people will come for like the sound healing immersions or intensives with me, and then I do that way. And oftentimes I do private sessions in retreats or on the road touring. I don't usually do them when I'm doing concerts and activations. It's too much for me. But during retreats, when my husband and I are teaching retreats, then yes, then I almost always do private sessions. It's really in-depth work with every person. So.
Wow. Beautiful. I'm very excited. I didn't know about this, so I'm going to have to pay you a visit to study with you or receive some sessions. I would love to experience that. Just listening to the music, it puts me in such a state of bliss that I can only imagine what it can be to experience a session with you.
It's really wonderful. I love the private sessions more and more. I love them because first of all, it serves a person, an individual, on such a deep level, and I love watching the transformation of people. You know, from when they come in to when they leave, and then it's such a really intimate experience of sound. You know, so when I do private sessions, it's really about the bowls and that person, and it's like 1 hour of constant prayer and or mindfulness and prayer, and so it's very deep and very extremely peaceful. And people that experience it, they oftentimes will fall into this very twilight kind of sleep, where they're aware of the sound, but they often feel like they're just transported into this other realm, and a lot of healing can happen for a person in that place. So.
Yes. Wow. So for people that would like to explore these possibilities of working with you, they just go to soundofashana.com.
Yeah, absolutely. You just go on my website, and there's a contact form there, and just send me an email.
Exciting. Well, I think you're going to receive one from me about that. I love Arizona also. So.
Arizona's oh my God, we love it.
What it has, Arizona, I always wonder, I don't know if it is because it's the desert, but it has such an energy. I just came back from there a week ago, and I always feel in love with the place.
It's, you know, it's the desert, and the desert can be very expansive and open, spacious, but also revealing. You know, it's environmentally, it's not an easy place because, well, especially in Arizona. I lived in Santa Fe for almost 18 years, and Santa Fe in New Mexico for me still is like one of the most beautiful places on God's earth. But we moved to Phoenix because of the heart energy here. It was really extraordinary. We tried not to move here over and over. We tried for 2 years not to move here because we were in great resistance for the heat, you know. And truly, when it comes to June, you know, and you go 3 months of the year, it is really brutal. There's no two ways around it. But the heart energy of of the people and in the environment here, I don't really quite understand it, but it seems to, we seem to be very much in alignment with it, and we have been very blessed to to have family and community here. So we feel very fortunate. You know.
Wow. And also, do you normally travel for concerts? I know that you were in some concerts and you're going into more concerts, I believe.
Yes. Let's see. Well, we travel internationally. This coming year, we'll be going back to Japan for a month this time, probably in September and October. And then it looks like we're going to Brazil in November for the first time, which will be really wonderful. And then we're traveling to Texas and California. Smaller, less traveling this year for me, for which I'm very grateful, because Thomas Barkey, my producer, he and I are going to be we're recording a new album together.
Wow.
We're recording Jewels of Silence #2, and
Wow.
that project for the year, and I'm really excited. We have such passion about this project, and the possibilities that are going to come out of it. So yeah, just stay tuned.
Yes, you know, that's the album that my teacher was playing, actually.
Oh, yes.
Just silent. It's just like being in heaven suddenly.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the new album is going to be. Actually, when I say that, my team tells me that I'm lying. Um, I don't know how it's going to come out, and they're all laughing. I can feel them. They're just like, when I say stuff like that, I just go, oh, honestly, listen to her. You know, we know that we're going to go in, and they've been kind of giving me hints about it. So recording for Thomas and I is a very organic process, and we know the general direction that we're going, but we really won't know what it's going to be until after we get there.
Wow.
So we're just going in with the intention of creating another album of ambient bowl music. It's our best-selling album, and I think the reason for that is that people really want the music that doesn't have words. There's something about the sound of our voices and the bowls and the beautiful production that Thomas does that is just really unique, and there really isn't quite anything like it out there, and people love that because it finds its way in so many different places, and there is no lyric or word that is defining any direction for its intention or its use, and it can't be plugged into any defined spiritual path or practice. So and it's very universal. It's very, very, very universal.
It's very interesting, is what you were saying before about music being universal, and I can feel that about that album, because when we start listening to words and lyrics, our mind starts being more in that logical place. So I feel that the fact that it doesn't have lyrics, it helps us really connecting with our heart and being there. I didn't realize about that until now.
Yes. Yes.
Very powerful. And you mentioned about living in Santa Fe. Did you by any chance meet Sandra Ingerman?
I met Sandra once, actually. I was teaching actually a class in vibrational healing, an introduction to sound and vibrational healing at the Southwest Institute, and it was like a weekend of introductory lectures, and so I had been invited by the institute to come in and teach class about the crystal bowls and sound. And Sandra that weekend was teaching an introduction to shamanic journeying, and I took her class. And so I got.
Ah, she's one of my mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you both meet because you both have such a beautiful energy, and Santa Fe and now Arizona, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was wondering how long it takes for you more or less to create these beautiful pieces of art, these albums of music. Is it something, because you were mentioning that you go there and everything is so organic, so I imagine that takes a lot more time than just go read the lyrics or having something so set.
Well, a big part of the process, and yeah, it's a big part of the process is the work, the way that Thomas Barkey and I work together. So, and this album is truly a collaboration. So, all my other albums, except for Jewels of Silence, they're like Ashana. But the album Jewels of Silence is Ashana with Thomas Barkey. So it's us doing it. He and I doing it together very deeply. And he's produced all my albums, and they all have a life of their own. But a rule of thumb on it is usually about 3 to 6 months each, and sometimes longer. Like Jewels of Silence 1 actually it was almost a year before it was released. But we expect, at least the idea that we have now about Jewels of Silence 2 is we'll start recording in May, and we should have a release by September 1st.
Oh, so I can't wait to listen to it.
In my hands, God's hands. So, but that's our date of release.
Sounds good. Okay, so we are getting close to the completion of this interview, but I would love for you to share anything that you would like to share, like any message or something that you feel is inspiring to listen to, just for our listeners and viewers.
In a message from me, I think that the thing that I would like to leave with every single person here would be to encourage everyone, no matter how difficult or challenging things are for you, no matter how much you experience struggle or pain or confusion, doubt, insecurity, to be a relentless, keep your mind and your eyes, your attention relentlessly focused on your heart. That your heart will lead you through everything. That to remember that the light is always there. It never wavers, even for an instant, no matter how tiny the thread might seem. And then that light is the light that you are. Don't accept on any level that you are any less than that. You are light, you are love, you are infinitely loved. You have a precious and beautiful gift to share with the world. Be courageous and have faith. Find that faith if you don't have faith. Be open to allowing that faith to reveal and manifest itself through you. And then simply be that in the world. We need you. The world needs you. Your families need that. Your communities need that. Be the sound, that musical sound that only you are. You are a divine note, the symphony of heaven. Just be that and celebrate it.
Now you're making me get so emotional. Thank you so much, Ashana. Thank you so much. That's so beautiful.
It's my pleasure.
And I can feel in your words that the love is coming through them. So thank you for that.
Well,
okay. Well, so this was our show with Ashana, and we are so grateful for this opportunity to learn such wisdom, such love, such a nurturing energy. So we will keep in mind your beautiful words. Thank you so much.
Victoria, Satnam.
Satnam.